It's your professionalism that I respect.
Stephanie, how are
Chris.
you?
I'm
Happy
good.
Thursday to you.
Thank you. Today is the start of graduation for my daughter. So we have commencement tonight.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Tonight she officially graduates, and then, oh my God, I'm gonna cry. And then Friday or Saturday is their prom, which is totally crazy. They spent like $100,000 on this prom. And we're just a little town with like a couple hundred graduates. It's crazy. But anyway, I am the bartender at the prom for the mocktails.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait a second. It's prom.
Yeah,
Also,
it's crazy.
why is prom after graduation? Like in the US,
Oh, it's
prom
always
is
that
like
way.
in May.
Oh, it's always that
Oh,
way.
really?
They're still not finished school yet. Like school doesn't end till the end of June officially. So, yeah.
But how are they? This makes no sense. How are they graduating and then they still have to go back to school?
Oh, I don't know. That's how it's always been. That's how we do it here. That's how we roll here. Do you know how else we roll here? We had some crazy stuff going on in Vancouver on the weekend. I don't know if you heard about it. Cirque du Soleil, right? Like the big circus.
Of course, yeah.
thing.
Incredible.
Every couple of years they set up in Vancouver, and then they have like a run of their show for a couple months or something like that. And you go down to the waterfront and there's all the setup with all of the big things and everything. But there was a fire, and it took out, there was a fire across the whole place, and it was intense.
I mean, because it's circus tents. I mean,
That's
I
right.
got intense.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Come on.
Pretty good. I'll make mine brief. Really have gotten into alternative investing, not crypto. I'm investing now in pasta. It's worth every penny.
I'm sorry, listeners. I apologize.
Oh, I'm not. So, Stephanie, as founders, when do you hire a marketing agency and when do you choose to do it yourself? In 2011, Wistia co-founders Chris Savage and Brendan Schwartz chose founder-led teaching over polished marketing campaigns. Their tactic exposed a fundamental truth for founders. Outsiders can buy attention, but they can't borrow founder judgment. Today on How to Founders, Stephanie, we're going to be talking about hiring and firing marketing agencies. I have a lot of experience getting fired as a marketing agency. So I think we'll have a lot to say about this. But when should you hire an agency? To what skills should you look for to hire an agency? And in today's day and age, where this thing called AI can do most of this stuff really, really well, what do you need a marketing agency for? I am your host, Chris Franks. With me, Stephanie Hayes. Mr. Anthony Franco is going to be joining us. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he'll be joining us. Maybe he's going to be joining us late. I don't really know. It is, again, just the three of us. So let's talk about this. Stephanie, have you ever hired a marketing agency? If not, can I recommend the services of about 20 that I know of friends of mine? So what's been your experience with hiring marketing agencies?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've hired everything from, a very specific skill set like SEO or ads management, all the way up to like full brand strategy and all of the communications and what have you. So it sort of ranges. You can pick and choose, or you can have the agency as like your outsourced marketing department. And it really depends on your business and what you sell and who you sell to and how much money you have. So, yeah, it's it's a strategic decision for sure.
What's been your best and worst experiences with hiring outside marketing help?
Yeah, I would say that my best experiences have been when it's very sort of targeted and focused and where you really know um, what you're looking to accomplish and it's measurable. But I think, to the point of this episode today, when it starts to get like the agency owns everything and you have very little input or engagement with the agency for the delivery of your strategy, I think that's when things get a little bit slippery and hard to measure.
It's true. So, best experiences come from when you're targeted, plan, et cetera. Any good nightmare scenarios? Any good
Yeah,
situations?
it's the sort of hire our plug and play where things usually get pretty mushy because there's not for ill intent, but there's as an agency running an agency, you want to be as efficient and effective as possible. So you sell a packaged up service and a team that does everything. And then it starts to get really sort of disconnected from your business and what your business really needs to do. Like we run a clinic out of Georgia, and there was like a packaged up marketing solution from a team that would had figured out what they want to do as a service, and they focused specifically on clinics and clinic owners, and it sounded great, but what it was really kind of a black box, and the business owner had zero input on what the offer would be that they were sending out. She had no visibility into what they were telling clients or the messaging or anything, and so it became very like disconnected, and we would get clients in that weren't a good fit, right? Because they came through on messaging that wasn't really aligned with what the business was actually thought offers, right? So I think like when you can have more integration with the team and the agency, I think that's when you get better results.
Oh, and it's as we're talking about this, I realize that probably the topic of this episode should be how to hire an agency and what you should hire an agency for versus firing an agency. Because firing an agency implies you've already hired an agency. So, and I think that we could talk about that as well. But I think
I would just say that it's yes, how do we hire? But it's more like what's the engagement model? Like I think the way that you work with your agency is probably the biggest indicator of whether you're going to be successful with them or not.
So my experience is obviously I've hired different marketing agencies. I've worked with them. However, the last company I worked with, I founded, was a company called Clever Funnel that I sold 2 or 3 years ago, something like that, was a marketing agency. We're a growth marketing agency, meaning we're really focused on the more technical, but then analytic approach to marketing. But I think that there's some rules of thumb, and I think this is where we should start, Stephanie, which is why are you hiring an agency? What is a reasonable thing for you as a founder and founder team to go out and look for outside help versus what should you be doing yourself? And I think the big trap here is I don't understand marketing as the founder, and I'm just going to outsource that to somebody else. Like all customer acquisition, I just want somebody else to go do that for me, which is wrong. You can't do that. So why should you hire an agency? What are the things you should be thinking about?
To me, and like externalizing some of your services is when you need really sort of experienced, skilled expertise, and you can't necessarily afford to hire that full time into your organization as a position. So I think where the slippery slope is that you are just figuring out what your business is, who you're serving, and you need that sort of immersion into the marketing and sales activities so that you are learning and you are seeing which clients are saying and what they're doing when you go out and you message to them. So I would be hiring an agency if I needed that initial strategy done from a group of experts who know what they're doing. And then I would probably have the execution in-house, because that's where all of the information comes from on a regular basis. And if you have a person executing who knows the business and knows what we're like, what stage we're at, and what the questions we're asking all the time, they're going to be funneling that intelligence and watching for the right things. So early days, I would probably hire out strategy, and then I would keep execution in-house, because I could probably afford to have somebody who can, do SEO in-house. Really depends on the business, right? Are we selling online? Are we selling, high-end services in high ticket? Like that would be a different answer for me.
See, I would say it's the exact opposite. So I think that early on, it's your job as the founder to at least have thought through what the strategy is. And you don't necessarily need to understand like the individual channels, and you don't need to understand tactics, because these tactics can get very, very specific and very, very complicated. And doing Facebook ads well is a skill unto itself. It's doing, SEO is a skill unto itself. However, you have to, as the founder, you have to understand your overall, what is it that you're trying to do? And it boils down to some very, very basic questions, which is, who are you trying to talk to? With what message, with what intent? What are you trying to have happen? And so, as an example, if you're an enterprise SaaS company, you're not going to be getting somebody to smash a buy button, at the end of this journey. They're not going to do that. However, a good deliverable for marketing would be a qualified lead, somebody that's downloaded a white paper or something like that. And so you have to understand what your sales cycle is and what it is that you're trying to do along the way. Now, I think early on, and this is the thing, it's changing a little bit, the individual tactics of building a website, of figuring out how to get people on the website and doing ad strategy or SEO or content, that's hard. And that's very, very nuanced, and it changes incredibly rapidly. And like I said, I think some of this stuff is changing with AI, but I think you have to own the strategy. Disagree with me, Stephanie. Let's argue.
Maybe it's semantics, because no doubt the organization, the founder, needs to know who we're trying to reach and why. How we execute, how we do that, there's a lot of founders that have no idea. So I wouldn't want, first of all, you can't afford to have like a high-end marketing person in your organization at that time, right? Yeah. You are going to get better value out of having people who can be guided and execute and feed back the data and the information that we're learning along the way as you're executing. And an agency is going to charge you a lot more for that. Yeah. But I would probably be looking to hire out or partner with a more senior person who can help guide the strategy, like the execution of the strategy, and then have a team that can. That's what I've seen work really well. And you and I are both coming from the perspective of being the agency as well. So I'm like layering that on a little bit too, and what's worked with my clients and what hasn't worked with my clients. So that's, I still stand by that. I still think that you have to be leading, you have to be guiding, you have to be understanding where we're trying to go and who we're trying to serve. And you should be taking the feedback from whoever is executing. But I don't think that any founder is going to have the expertise to build their own marketing strategy early in the game. And I also don't think that they can afford to have one person who is just focused on marketing strategy at that point.
I think what we're bringing up is a very, very important point. And so if I'm sort of repurposing this episode to say, like, what do you need to know as a founder as you start to think through this problem? You have to market. You have to figure out a way to get your,
Yeah.
classically the awareness component, awareness and consideration. There's two elements to that problem that you need to solve. And the first one is the strategy component. And strategy components is very, very hard. And it requires people that have been around and that have done this and seen a lot of different things. And so at Clever Funnel, I was the strategy person. I would go in and work with founders to talk about what their intention was and try to get to ask a series of questions to try to get them to understand what goal, what problem were they trying to solve.
Right.
And so that component of it, that's a separate component than going and building Facebook ads. Now, here's the problem that I find, Stephanie. It is rampant that founders reverse those two. And there's so much noise and there's so much absolute BS that's out there. It's like, oh, if you're not running pay-per-click ads, you're failing, right?
That's shifting very quickly.
Right. And so if you, as a founder, you show up and you talk to somebody who's like, look, I just got my client 70%, 170% ROI in their first week with Facebook ads. You're like, sweet, I want that. That's a tactic. And you can try tactics, but at the end of the day, if you don't know what it is that you're doing, the tactics aren't going to work. And I can come up with a metric that's going to make me as a marketer look really, really good. Really amazing. That has nothing to do with your business whatsoever.
Right. And I think you're touching on a really important point here, is that a lot of founders get sucked because they don't know marketing that well. They get sucked into the bro marketing around. They're like, oh, look, quick fix, just run some ads. Well, do you know the nuances behind ads? And I have seen so many people waste so much money on just diving into the thing that they think is going to get them quick leads. First of all, you get crap leads. Like you're not guaranteeing to get quality because you're wooed by numbers, right? It's all vanity. And then secondly, you don't know your audience well enough to build a really successful campaign. You can use ads as like a really great tool to learn more about your audience if you're very strategic about it. But jumping into tactics and just thinking, oh, I'm just doing something. What you and I probably know about marketing strategy is that it has to be very integrated, right? And the things that are actually going to work for you are often not the big volume tactics. And again, I keep saying this, but it comes back to what you're selling. And the marketing strategy for a little e-commerce company is going to be very different than a marketing strategy for someone who sells high-end services, right? So I think a lot of founders get sort of wooed by big numbers and bright, shiny bro marketing, when really what they need to do is be out there building relationships. And this is what we do with our clients too. We're like, hey, stop looking for the quick fix. You have to go out and you have to be visible and you have to build relationships with, build relationships strategically with the prospects and the referral partners and all of that. But that's going to give you more bang for your buck than throwing a bunch of money at ads.
This is like, I cannot stress this point enough for any founder that actually is considering this. Don't get caught up into any hype cycle. If there's a guy on YouTube saying like, oh my God, I just found the secret to get 72% click-through rate on these ads. Run the other direction, because those are the people that are scammers. They're trying to take a couple of bucks from you and then move on to the next client.
I actually think a lot of them believe in what they're selling because it worked for them, but it's not going to work for 90%. I mean, this is the age-old problem in the online marketing world, right? And I think there's an undercurrent here, which is sort of interesting if we want to pull on it a little bit, is that a lot of founders, I find, look externally for the strategy. They look for someone to tell them that this is going to work because they don't feel confident themselves in making decisions about the strategy. And so they're constantly being, this is frustrating for me as somebody who works with these founders, is that they're constantly being, starry-eyed about some dude out there who's like, you don't have to build you could just put a presentation page up and and like 20 minutes and you've got a funnel built. I'm like, shut up, right? Honestly. And you try to talk to them, you try to say, this is actually what's happening and this is what your business is like. So there's this undercurrent of needing to look externally and trust somebody else as opposed to trusting your own gut instinct and your own understanding of the clients that you're trying to reach. And I think people get really like sidetracked. They get out of like, they see a strategy working for somebody and they're like, I want that. But it's totally inappropriate for who they're trying to sell to.
I think it's that component, and I have such a visceral response. Like, you can't outsource everything to do with customer acquisition. You can't.
No,
if you came to me and said like, hey, I need help, like we can work through how to solve this problem together. But this idea that you're going to come to me and be like, hey, we should run Facebook ads. Like, okay, I'll run Facebook ads for you. You're the client. I'll go do that. But you're a B2B SaaS company. Your audience is not on Facebook. Like that's not where you're going to be finding people. And I could show you metrics that would make that look amazing. But at the end of the day, it has to be driven by what your business goals and business strategy are. And it is such a complicated world and it changes so fast. The tactics that are working today will not work next week. And then you'll hear somebody else come on and talk about how they're crushing this thing and they're doing something different, et cetera. And so you have this constantly changing environment. And it's a perfect recipe to make you, the founder, feel like you don't know what you're doing.
Oh, 100%.
And you'll be talked down to like, these bro marketers, like you said, we'll be like, you don't even know. Like they're going to try to make you think that you don't understand. If a marketer cannot explain to you what their strategy and tactics are in very simple, plain English, they don't understand it.
And I think, so this is the mindset that we have to like educate founders to be aware of is, are you getting pulled into someone else's, it's so easy this way, like really think about who you're trying to sell to. Is this right? And one of the huge parts of marketing strategy that is going to pay off in dividends is your visibility, especially early on. And this is what founders hide from because A, they're uncomfortable doing it. B, they don't know how to do it. But you don't necessarily really have to pay for visibility. And it's going to get you the biggest return. I remember a client going out there and like she was uncomfortable. She didn't know what to do next. She was doubting herself. And so she got caught up in some like 25-year-old guys, like little white guys, bro marketing bullshit. And then she comes back and she starts questioning everything we're doing. And I'm like, you are not selling to that audience. Like it is not, that you don't get like, be aware of getting sucked into this. And I think this comes back to what we originally were talking about, that I think the most important thing for you to pay attention to when you're hiring a marketing agency is, what does it feel like to work for them? What's the engagement model? Because you want to hire somebody early who feels like a partner to you, who does not feel like you're signing an invoice for a packaged up service. When you're early on, instead go find somebody who feels like a partner, who's listening, who's going to think critically about your work and who you're trying to reach. And if they're not asking those questions, if they're just saying, here's our solution, we're going to put you in it, I would say that's a huge red flag.
I think it's a good moment for us to ask the deeper question now, which is, I don't know if you've heard of this thing. As a matter of, we might just change the name of How to Founder to like How to AI Founder, because almost every episode we have to address it. Because things have changed now to such a degree whereby now the way that we think about and approach marketing is different. And I'll tell you from my perspective, running a more or less a digital agency for 5 or 6 years, AI can do 90% of the work that we did as well as we did it.
Oh yeah.
It is, from a deliverable perspective, social media, content, now videos, website design and organization. If you have a pretty good understanding, just even a basic understanding of what it is that you want to do as a founder, you can hand that to AI, to Claude Desktop, and it will run automated scripts and do that work for you. It is a wildly different world than it was 3 years ago in this market. How are you using it first? And then I'll tell you how I'm thinking about it.
Oh, God. Well, as somebody with a master's degree in managing technology, AI has just eaten my brain, right? Like it's just the possibilities so I am almost operating like a one-person marketing agency right now because I've built all these tools that can help my clients with the things that they used to have to pay thousands of dollars a month to outsource, right? But the more interesting thing is, yes, we've got all the social media stuff and the whatevers, but the more interesting piece that I've built is a prospecting system where I've built an intelligence layer in that has learned about the business, and I've deployed this for several of my clients, so it works with whatever business. And what it does is it says, who are you trying to reach in terms of clients? Who are you trying to reach in terms of referral partners? Who are you trying to reach? Like for us, we're trying to reach investors as well. So we've got these 3 different sort of segments. You train it up, and there's a whole like open intelligence layer where you can keep feeding it more information and better information. And then it runs this scoring rubric, and then it goes out into the world and it brings back potential leads, potential prospects for whatever you're trying to find, scores them all against this rubric, gives you sort of a list to work. And then as you work the list, you say, this one was good because of this one wasn't good because of this. And then every Monday, it goes out with a fresh new vector. It creates all these vectors that says, this is the slice I'm going to go look for this time. This is the slice I'm going to go based on what you've told me. I'm going to update my intelligence. That to me is mind blowing. And it took me about an hour to make it. So now, my partner has taken it and he's deployed it for his business, and he's trying to figure out how to build it on their technology stack. So when you start thinking about the marketing problems, it's not just about the execution. It's actually like you can, for me to sit down and say to my client, go find a bunch of people to talk to, like go find referral partners. They go blank, right? Because even though they have a network with lots of people, they can't think of who they are. But when you start training a tool like this on finding the right people, it's wild what it brings back. So all you have to do is what you should be doing anyway, going out and creating the relationships, going out and contacting these people. Interesting side note to that is how much resistance comes up. Whereas the resistance used to be, well, I don't know enough people, blah, blah, blah. Well, now here, I've given you a whole list, go contact them. And it's like, but as a founder, that's your job.
Yeah.
Right? So AI is not just automating rote tasks. Yeah, there's that piece of it, but its capacity to learn if you structure your solutions right is wild. And that's not something you would pay. I found somebody who was charging $12,000 a month to do the same thing with people.
I think there's one other layer to this, and I think it's a really interesting backlash. So I was having a conversation with my friend Kyle. Kyle started AI Salon. There's an Anthony Franco. And he's done a bunch of work around AI and AI content. I know Anthony's doing some stuff on AI and AI content as well. But he said that there's one thing that's become very true in the last year, which is the content that's indexing now best on LinkedIn, things like that, is when a human being talks. He said it's weird because now people are actually doing stuff that is with errors in it to make sure it flows like a normal conversation. He said in a world where AI, and I saw a presentation the other day where AI video was like an hour of AI video. You're all right there, Anthony?
What am I doing?
It was just, it was fine. The
moving your mic.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Human beings and actual human beings talking to other human beings is indexing the best online right now. And it's wild, right? Because we came out of this world where it was just, what tactics can you do to get attention? What tactics in social media? What posts can you put up? And then it was about images. And then it was about doing videos, but it was like, animated videos. And now in a world that I could do that in minutes with any AI engine, the thing that's working is people actually talking to other humans. I think it's both inspiring and really interesting as well. Like that this is now we're back to like human to human interaction.
How did you get diverted onto that conversation from talking about firing your agency?
Well, we've been talking mainly about how to hire an agency and like what the things you should be thinking about. What is an agency's job to do within your business? And then when we start talking about tax, I don't even know. No, you mentioned it.
Well, but it was the thread of the sweater, right? Because before you even talk about firing your agency, when should you hire? When should you even consider hiring it? How does an agency fit into your business model? Who do you want to hire? How do you want to engage with them? And then you set the precedent for if like how do you decide when that agency is no longer serving you, right? Because we haven't quite gotten to that yet. But then we got talking about AI and AI is changing the landscape of the agency world 100%. And so that changes the conversation about hiring and firing, doesn't it?
And I think, Anthony, to really bring it full circle is, I was saying at CleverFunnel, there's 80%, maybe 90% I could do automated with AI now of the work that we did. Well, it does it well. And so the needs that you need to hire an agency now is going to be different based on your ability to train and run an AI engine on your behalf. And I think that we're already starting to see this where you have agency relationships that are changing from being traditional marketing agencies into being like, how can I set up AI marketing on your behalf? I think that's another very interesting component.
Yeah. I have a business that teaches virtual assistants how to build a business, right? Freelancers, virtual assistants. And the whole business has shifted to where we're setting up our own agency that is fully AI driven, right? And we've got a huge program teaching, service-based professionals how to use AI inside their business and how to build a business, how it works for them, right? So there's a massive shift into what an agency actually does. And I think that this is exactly the conversation is, where does a human now add value, right? And that I think is pretty exciting because it starts to shift like these conversations about, oh, fire everybody, just have a one-person agency. Yeah, okay, fine, you can do that. But if you're truly a founder that's running a more traditional business, I think this is exciting. I think this finally gets us to using people for their brain power and starting to innovate, right? Because this is a typical innovation cycle.
So I want to ask you guys some questions here, and this would be hiring and firing. So let's assume for a second you're a founder and you're thinking about hiring these people. Right now, today, with what you know, and both of you are very, very advanced in AI, so it's not a fair question, but would you hire an agency to do the following? Create a brand. Not a fair question for you, Anthony, because I know you like to create it. Would you hire an agency to create a brand?
Pretend I didn't suck at making logo. I sucked at making logos. Yes, I would hire an agency to create a brand.
Stephanie?
We mistakenly call brand like visual brand, like logos. And to me, a brand is extracting the definition of what your clients say about you and who you are and your positioning and messaging. That is deep strategic work. And I would hire somebody to do that.
And I logo design.
Yeah, we are not there yet in logo design from AI, honestly. So I would still hire somebody to do my visual brand after that.
Okay, so traditionally after that, you start thinking about social media. Would you hire an agency to run your social media?
Depends what kind of business I have. For some, it's like
probably it depends on what kind of business I have. Is absolutely right. And let's say I have a business that would care about social media. Like if I'm an HVAC company, do I need to be posting on Instagram? Probably not.
The caveat there is Instagram yes, HVAC, maybe not, but for like, we run a massage clinic. They're not, Instagram is not like where they're going to be building, they're not an influencer, right?
Right.
But being present, like
Yeah.
reminding people you exist, that's the strategy. And so it's less about the content being like award winning and more just about, and so I just run it fully out of AI, and it's great. Like it just
Yeah,
keeps
I would agree with that. I would agree. So if social media is a big distribution for awareness channel for you, then yeah, you need an agency for that. That agency better be AI enabled and use AI to help them. But yeah, you do have an agency for that.
I would say for the vast majority of businesses, my answer would be you could run an AI yourself, because mostly social media is about sustained awareness and staying in people's peripheral vision for when they need your solution.
Maybe, Chris, the asterisk to that is social media is just not about you posting. Social media is also about finding influencers. Like influencer marketing is, and finding influencers to post and paying influencers to post about you. That is a skill set that AI can't do, and you shouldn't be doing as part of your core business.
Yeah, and that's a specialized skill. Okay, so next one, website design and building. Anthony, you had a little company that did some of this. I had, Chris Martinez was at my speech yesterday. We used to make a pretty good living off of building people's websites for them. What would you hire an agency now to build a website?
Yes, I would.
Again, comes down to what your business is and what your biggest channels are. But if I was looking, if it was really important to have like a Slammer website and it did a lot of work for me, yes, 100%. Can I set up a pretty decent website that's going to do the trick for like 80% of what I need using AI? 100%. But
I wouldn't spend 50 grand on a marketing website though with an agency. There's no reason to spend that kind of money for a really solid website when you can vibe code a really nice website in an afternoon.
Yeah, 100%. Like, yeah, I came from a world where we spend $6 million.
Yeah, that's
on website,
gone.
Right? That's gone.
I think it's also the other part. I would not hire an agency to build a website. I think that the vast majority of founders can do an equally a good job in an afternoon with just about any AI engine. Again, why is AI so good at marketing? Because it's trained on the internet. The internet's mostly marketing. And so it's really good at it. You bring up one more point. So I think that the question that I was
but to get Chris, sorry, one second on that, and I want you to continue. But if, again, my HVAC example, if I'm running an HVAC company, I'm not going to open up, and I don't want to open up an LLM. I don't even know what's good and not good. I don't know how to discern whether or not it's SEO compliant, and like I don't even know how to spell HTML. So in that circumstance, you do want an expert, and it doesn't need to be a high cost expert to help you do that strategy work, and then prompt the LLM to do it.
So it brings up the question that I was just about to ask, Anthony. Thank you for the entree.
You're welcome.
Which is the other component of this is cost. And so when I first started out, a website would cost about $25,000. Like that's when I started. And then it moved to the fact that you could do a good website for about $10,000 based on labor and different sessions. What should I be paying? It's mid-year 2026. What does it cost to deliver high quality website today? And then we can extract that down to social media management, et cetera.
There's a lot of companies that are built. So just to give you a sense of cost, there's a lot of solo entrepreneurs that are building a website for a company that doesn't have a website and offering it to them for $500 a month. So it costs next to nothing to actually build something. It's a lot more expensive to build something that's good. And and to hire somebody with taste, what you're paying for isn't the build. You're paying for the taste. And
You're paying for
taste
the design. Yes.
and that taste is expensive. That taste can be expensive. I think $5,000 for a website, as long as you trust the taste of the builder. If you want to have iterative loops on design and colors and logo and content, you're essentially going to be paying for the iterations, not for the actual building of the website.
I think you're paying for the design direction, because somebody, somebody can build that thing. You can, this is something I've been playing with is, can I take a design from a designer? And we did exactly this, throw it into like Claude Design and have it spit out HTML. Yeah, works pretty well, right?
Works really well. Claude Design is amazing.
Yeah.
It's scary good.
It's really impressive because you can build this whole like design system. So yes, I think that and that was the part that used to cost a lot of money, right? Was the execution of the building. So you're still going to pay a few grand for a design, but that's a lot cheaper than the 12, 15, 20 grand you were going to pay to have that built, right?
And there's another thing on cost here too, Chris. Do you need to pay for Wix or Shopify or hosted WordPress, or can you deploy a flat HTML website using Vercel or something that's really low cost to host a website? So there's cost on the build, and there's also cost on the hosting. It's not that expensive anymore to host a website.
And the funny thing is that we used to talk about building marketing stacks. It's like, what CRM do you use? What's your email?
What's your CMS?
Yeah, CMS, et cetera. And now I don't know what Wix costs, but $19.99 a month or something like that to host a website, you can add on, and you can get it more expensive. But now WordPress is a platform that will handle all that stuff for you. Shopify is a platform. If you're e-commerce, you probably need to be on Shopify. And then you just put plugins that will help you basically run your entire business based on those components. All right.
Don't do that.
Questioning. Last tractive questioning before we get into the speed round. So we've talked about these different components. I think that we each have a little bit of a different opinion on what you should do, who you should hire, et cetera. But let's move up. You've now had a marketing agency in your company for years. And this is the heart of this first question. We now know about tactics. We know that tactics have become cheaper. We know that now founder-led and human contact is indexing better. When do you fire the agency? And what is it that you would look at for deliverables from an agency in 2026 versus in 2020, 2022? What are those things that are now the performance metrics of how you should gauge the effectiveness and performance of a marketing agency?
So I was going to say, when you say agency, you're kind of saying marketing, right? We're kind of talking about marketing, and
it is funny because now these worlds are combining.
Yeah,
what we used to call technical marketing and SEO, technical SEO. It's now sort of just one thing. So we'll say marketing just for the sake of it.
There's this fine line here, right? So first of all, if you haven't defined how you're going to measure the agency, you shouldn't hire it. You need an outcome based, like, this is what I'm hiring you to do. You should hire the agency that I won't get into how you hire it. You should fire the agency that's not meeting the objective. But for one of two reasons: either they overpromised and you could never hit that objective and they didn't tell you, or that they're not good at doing what they say they're good at. So you need to constantly be measuring the agency's results. And you fire an agency when you've given them two chances to fix the fact that they're not getting you the results and they don't do it.
Stephanie, what do you think?
I mean, all that for sure. And it drives me crazy when agencies won't surface their data, like their performance. Like, I want to see on an ongoing basis how things are tracking, right? But I think there's another element too here is does it still fit your business model? Like as you evolve, as you grow, as you learn more about the business, are you still, if you still have a business model where it makes sense for you to be outsourcing everything? Again, I keep coming back to that feedback loop. Like the data that comes out of your marketing is probably the most valuable thing that you're getting out of your marketing exercises. It's not always about, are we just killing it and getting tons of leads in? It's like, what am I learning about my audience and my sales strategies? So if you are no longer in a place where you can get that from your marketing agency, you may need to now consider that pieces of your marketing activities come in-house.
I want to ask one more question. I know I said that was going to be my last thread, but I think that there's this new dynamic that's really important to understand for founders, which is the freelancer. It's never been harder or easier to be a freelancer, right? You can go freelance. If your specialty is now Facebook ads or SEO or something like that, it's very seductive for founders because they're inexpensive resources. Why would I want a freelancer versus an agency? And most importantly, how should I think about managing that process, Anthony?
I think starting with a freelancer makes a lot of sense, actually. Before you hire an agency, look, the reason to hire an agency over a freelancer is you have more work than a freelancer can handle. Or you want the collective wisdom of this is how an agency will pitch you. Look, you get the benefit of the 100 clients that we're serving and all the embedded knowledge that we have like you get all of that wisdom in the way we buy ads or the way we do SEO. And you have to make the decision if they're full of it or not. A freelancer is going to have less of that collective wisdom, but you're going to be probably their number one or number two client. So an agency has to manage 100 folks where a freelancer only can handle like 5. So every one of their clients matter. So you're going to be able to pressure, for lack of a better term, a freelancer than you can an agency.
Stephanie, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would be hiring a freelancer over an agency most days because you get that immersion, right? You get somebody who's really thinking about your business. I find that the red flag with agencies is that you become sort of a cog in a wheel, or they by nature of the fact have to run things very effectively, efficiently, and they're always motivated to sort of productize their services. Mm-hmm. And so early on, I'm not sure you're getting what you need out of an agency because it's going to be very generic, right? And you really need a partner who's thinking about your business and who's really like immersing themselves. So find a freelancer who, and I would argue that freelancers are not more expensive. I would say that they're actually cheaper than running.
No, they are by a long shot. Yeah, freelancers are going to be a lot less expensive than an agency.
Yeah. My only thing to add on this is that when you're hiring a freelancer, be prepared to manage a freelancer. You hire an agency or multiple freelancers. And so you have to have the time and energy to be able to manage. Otherwise, you're wasting money.
Well, you have to manage agencies too. You have to manage agencies too. Yeah.
All right. Speed round. We've already covered some of this, but I'll start with Anthony. Going to go to Stephanie. Anthony, big agency or hungry specialist?
Hungry specialist.
Stephanie.
Hungry specialist. Yeah.
Fire after 1 miss or 3 misses?
2.
Stephanie.
2.78. Listen, here's I think the mindset that we have to get into as founders is you are training somebody in your market and you are discovering things together. You're going to have a lot of misses as a marketer. Yeah. And you as long as you are building what you've learned into your next strategy, if you're continually missing, I think that we've got a problem.
I think we need to have a conversation about what the speed round is. Who owns marketing, founder or agency, Anthony?
Founder.
Stephanie.
Well, let me read my white paper here. What was the question again?
Who owns marketing, founder or agency?
A founder.
Retainer or project, Anthony?
Project.
Stephanie?
Retainer.
Interesting. That's a good one.
I'm not allowed to say
know.
anything more about it, but
It has been a good conversation. Deep dive resources. The Win Without Pitching Manifesto by Blair Inns and The Business of Expertise by David C. Baker. I haven't read either of those books. Good conversation. It's fun. Anthony, thanks for joining. Just join whenever.
Sorry, I was late.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was late. Just did the pop in.
Yeah, did the pop in. That's pretty good. Why don't you, however, get us out of here?
Well, thank you for letting me pop in. Also, everybody that's tuning in, we really appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Please, if you're interested in learning more about How to Founder, visit us at howtofounder.com, and you can see where we're broadcasting to. Wherever you're listening to us, hit that like button.
That is the most wonderful.
hit the like button, give us a follow, give us a review. We're so happy that you've been with us. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next episode.
It's almost as if you have no business training at all.